Hey everybody, hope you guys are all doing safe. I am in Los Angeles at my mom's apartment right now. So obviously if you're watching this video, you already know that I make YouTube videos. I've been at it for about 3 years. The last 2 of which I have been editing all my videos on this, the 2019 MacBook Pro 16-inch. Powered by Intel Core i9, fully spec'd out. Not just editing video, this has been my main work machine every single day for the past 2 years for all my writing work too, for XDA developers. So for the most part, I had no complaints about this machine. I find its performance very impressive. If you ask me, I must, nitpick and find some gripes, and I will have 2. The first is that I have to use a dongle with this machine anytime I want to move camera files over because there's only a USB-C port. So I have to use a dongle to read an SD card. And the second nitpick is that when I'm rendering 4K videos, this machine can get a little bit hot down at the bottom. So much that if I have it on my lap, it might be uncomfortable. I wouldn't be able to keep it on my lap. I would have to lift it up. And the fan would kick in and it gets pretty loud. This was why I was very excited last week when Apple announced this. This is the 2021 MacBook Pro running Apple's Neo Silicon, the M1 Max, and it fixes both of the nitpicks I just had about this machine. But it's not just that, it also brings a lot more than just fixing those 2 nitpicks. And to be honest, after using this 2021 MacBook Pro for about a week now, it's going to be very damn hard for me to go back to this 2019 machine because this machine's pretty good, but this thing is a beast. Okay, so the reason this new 2021 MacBook Pro is such a beast is because of that M1 Max chipset inside, which I'll get to later. Let's look at the overall hardware first. So the first thing I noticed when I took out this MacBook Pro 2021 16-inch was how hefty it felt. And keep in mind, I have been used to using the 2019 model, but even compared to this machine, which is already pretty big, this is thicker and heavier. So the thickness is 0.66 inches in height. That comes out to about 16.7 millimeter to non-Americans out there. And likewise, it weighs 4.7 pounds. That's 2.1 kg. Now, fortunately, the corners and sides of the laptop are still rounded, so that means you can still carry this thing relatively comfortably once you're mentally prepared to lift almost 5 pounds. I've been walking around LA with the laptop sandwiched between my arms like this, and I've had no issue. So this is a typical aluminum body. It's really nicely built. Now the top looks exactly the same as previous MacBooks. Now of course the sides of the laptop will look different too compared to previous MacBooks because there are more ports. So we'll start with the right side. So we have an HDMI port right here, a USB-C, Thunderbolt 4, and right here my favorite, SD card slot. So now that means when I'm done filming this footage, I can just plug this memory card into here and the video file will go over transfer immediately. I don't need to bother with a dongle. Now on the left side, you have a headphone jack here, 2 more Thunderbolt 4 USB-C, and right here is the return of the MagSafe, Apple's magnetic charger. It plugs in and it'll charge the laptop, but then if you yank at the cable, it'll pull away immediately. So that prevents the laptop from accidentally being yanked off the table just because like a dog or a kid is running around tripping on cables. You can still charge via USB-C, however, so I'm happy with that because I have a lot of USB-C cables. The MagSafe can top up this laptop very, very fast though. Yesterday, I went to a coffee shop with only about 10% battery. I plugged in the MagSafe and I was working, actively working. Not heavy work, just writing emails and writing an article. But in about 55 minutes, it had charged up to like 90% battery. The bottom of the MacBook also looks different from before. You have 4 rubber pegs down here, and then you have MacBook Pro edged onto the bottom of the machine. It's a pretty professional, heavy-duty working machine vibe. Now let's open up the lid and look at the display. I know what you guys are gonna say already. Yes, there is a notch. Now I'm not gonna sugarcoat things. I'm not gonna say, oh, the notch looks great, or I don't even notice it. I mean, it's there, it's a little bit goofy. It is what it is. At least we are getting slimmer bezels now around the top of the screen. Now, interestingly, the notch also brings about some quirky changes to a screen, which I haven't seen on a laptop before. For example, if you look at the top of the display, you see that the corners are rounded, right? Just like on a smartphone. But then you look at the bottom corners of the screen, it actually comes to a hard 90-degree angle, just like most other laptops. But this screen looks amazing, man. It's a 16.2-inch 3456 by 2234 panel. It's a mini LED screen, so meaning you're gonna get deeper blacks and more contrast on the screen than a typical LCD panel. Maybe not quite as good as an OLED, but mini LED is like, you know, in between OLED and LCD in terms of like display pecking order. And this display has a refresh rate up to 120 Hertz, which Apple calls Pro Motion. What you do want to do with this laptop is watch movies and videos, because not only is the screen amazing, maximum brightness of 1600 nits, excellent viewing angles, but it also has the best speaker system I've ever heard in any portable device, meaning any device that I can just lift up and take with me anywhere. This has the best speaker system I've ever heard. It's a 6-speaker setup and the sound is just so full. I'm going to show you samples right now, but to be honest, it won't really do it justice. You have to go to an Apple store, play something, listen for yourself, and be blown away by the immersive sound. Now you may have also noticed that there's no longer a touch bar at the top. Instead, the F keys have returned. Most of my peers seems to welcome this move, but I actually quite like the touch bar. I like switching between tabs on Safari by just tapping on the bar. But you know, the F keys are also absolutely fine. This is a change that doesn't really matter to me. What matters to me though is that this keyboard and this trackpad are still excellent. They're basically identical to the 2019 MacBook Pro, which means the trackpad is the best trackpad in the industry. And the keyboards here are pretty good. They have over 1 millimeter of travel. Not quite the best keyboard I've ever used, but they're really good. All right, now let's look at the internal. So my model, the 16-inch MacBook Pro, is not quite fully spec'd out, but like almost, maybe like 80% of the way there. It has an M1 Max chip, obviously, and it has 64 gigs of unified memory and 2 terabyte storage. So the only thing that's not maxed out is the storage. Everything else, it's Apple's absolute tip-top. And then performance is super, super powerful. So I did a 8K video rendering test. What I did was I shot 4 separate 8K video footage, 1 minute each. So that's combined a 4-minute 8K video. And I rendered on Final Cut Pro on this machine, and it rendered in 1 minute and 35 seconds. On the M1 MacBook, it's still quiet. In fact, it just finished rendering already. 8K video footage in under 1 minute 40 seconds. Whereas here, 2019, we are at 21%. On the 2019 Intel Mac that I have, that machine is actually fully spec'd out. It took 8.5 minutes to render the exact same video. So it took 7 extra minutes to render on the 2019 MacBook than on the 2021 MacBook. For a video content creator like me, that's, you know, that extra 7 minute matters a lot. This is a short video. If I'm filming something like a 15-minute video, this machine is gonna finish like 20, 30 minutes faster than the 2019 MacBook Pro. That's 20, 30 minutes of waiting when I'm using 2019 model that I don't have to do here. It's not just rendering videos much faster, it also renders much more efficiently. So during that 8K video test, the 2019 MacBook Pro with Intel processor, i9, got really, really loud and hot because the fan needed to kick in to help dissipate the heat. 2019 model. So this is the fan. On the 2021 M1 Max MacBook, the fan never turned on. It remained quiet. This machine, it only got moderately warm at the bottom and the fan did not need to turn on at all. There is a fan in here, it just didn't need to turn on. In fact, a whole week of use later, I've never heard the fan turn on once. And keep in mind, I edit 4K videos on this regularly, and I did an 8K video test and a bunch of other testing too. Okay, so I am at a restaurant right now running GFX Metal on the MacBook Pro, and I'm running completely off battery right now, and this thing is handling it like a champ. So see, it's not plugged in at all, it's not hot, and you cannot hear the fan. I don't even know if the fan is running. All that power is because of this M1 Max chip. It has a 10-core CPU and a 32-core GPU. But you know, going beyond all that technical core stuff, the biggest reason the M1 Max is so powerful is because it is a mobile SoC. It's a 5 nanometer chip with 57 billion transistors. The long story short is that a mobile SoC, kind of like the chip that's running in your iPhone or the newest Samsung Galaxy, they are built for efficiency because they are a chip with everything in one chip. It's called systems on a chip, SoC. Now, if you're wondering if a mobile SoC is more powerful than a computer CPU, then why don't all laptops use a mobile SoC? That's because a mobile SoC traditionally, it's more efficient, but there's a cap on how powerful it can get. It can't get as powerful as a traditional Intel processor. That is until Apple started working on it, and Apple basically pulled off what previously thought was impossible. They made a mobile SoC that is more powerful and more efficient than a real computer processor. And this efficiency carries over to battery life too. So Apple advertises 21 hours of battery life in this machine on a single charge. I wouldn't go quite that far. From my testing, if you're doing office productivity tasks, like just sending emails, opening Slack, going on Safari, stuff like that, not editing videos, this can get you a good 12 to 16 hours depending on your screen brightness on a single charge. And even though I don't really believe in it, I also did a battery drain test with this machine. What I did was I streamed a 4K 30 YouTube video with the screen brightness on maximum and volume at halfway. And this machine lasted 8 hours and let me check the numbers. 8 hours and 39 minutes before it shut down. On the 2019 Intel Mac, it only lasted 5 hours and 16 minutes. So on the exact same drain test, this machine lasts over 3 hours more than the 2019 Intel Mac. Ultimately, this M1 Max MacBook is a laptop for creators. If you're someone who don't really make videos or make graphics and stuff, and you're just using a laptop to send emails, write words, and go on the web, you don't need this machine, man. Buy a MacBook Air instead. It will serve you just as well. But if you edit videos for a living, or if you make music, if you are a graphic designer, any of that, this machine can handle everything with ease. This machine is already making my life easier because I can plug in an SD card, move files over, and I can render videos at like 5, 6, 7 times the speed of the previous 2019 Intel MacBook. Like I said at the beginning, I was using that 2019 Intel MacBook with no issues up until now. Now that I've tasted this, I don't know if I can go back to that, man. It's gonna be tough. But of course, price is the biggest obstacle for most people. This 16-inch MacBook Pro starts at $2,500 US. My model is spec'd up a little bit. It has 64 gigs of unified memory and 2 terabytes of storage. So this one goes for over like $4,000. But to be honest, for me, it's worth it because I need this for work. Every single day, this is my machine that allows me to make a living. $4,000 for me, in my opinion, is worth it. But ultimately, it's a decision that you have to make for yourself. So anyway, that's about it of this review of the 2021 MacBook Pro M1 Max. I'm gonna have more content on this machine and maybe other devices coming up pretty soon. So if you're interested, please consider subscribing to my channel or follow me on Instagram at Ben's Gadget Reviews. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.